All right. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone is well from wherever it is that you're joining us from this 27th day of November, 2024. Glad that you could join us. Karibuni sana. John Bogo is my name. I'm part of the Afriforex team, and we do have the rest of the team here. So also feel free to ask your questions in the chat box. They will be getting back to you. But I will be looking at the questions more specifically, of course, in the chat box, but towards the very tail end of this session. But you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can ask your questions, even as the session does end up progressing on. So, karibuni sana. For the sake of guys who are joining us for the first time, also remember to give us a like and a subscribe. That does also end up helping out our channel. So we're going to jump straight into it. We'll start off by looking at the watch list, as always. That's where everything begins. So we'll look at what we have today in comparison to what we did have yesterday. So hopefully you can see my screen right there. So you can see a couple of changes on today's watch list if you compare to what we did have yesterday. But more or less, it's the USD. Of course, joining the sell side of things. So we'll do a recap of the USD pair that we did have yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list this morning and today. So we'll start off with the euro against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. And you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, if we go back to a time like this yesterday, so at around 9 or thereabout, price was somewhere within this region right here. And you can see that, we're expecting maybe price to come back in within this region for us to look for sales. The buyers came up, can't see that they broke this region to the upside, came back in much later on, but can't see that the market has just been fooling around within this region here, unless you got some extremely aggressive selling opportunities higher within that region there, but more or less that one was a very tricky one yesterday in terms of looking for opportunities. So the next one, the last one that we do have for review is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, at a time like this, price was somewhere here. And I had pointed out that maybe we could have just gotten the market just coming back in within here. If that would have been the case, it could have been a really good buy. But I guess looking at the smaller scale of things, especially on the 3-minute time frame, based on what happened within this region here, I guess the buyers were ready to go. And you can see that once the market started to move to the upside, it only gave a slight pullback back within this region. And you can see that the market actually took off to the upside before the sellers did react, push the market down. I was thinking maybe during the US session, now of course, when we're looking at the charts with the snipers, that maybe there could have been a buy somewhere within here, but unfortunately, you can't see that the sellers came down quite aggressively. Fortunately, we couldn't get the market at least slowing down within this region here. So I guess for this one, there was only one buy on it, and I guess that was pretty much it. So before we do look at what the charts have to offer today, let's look at a couple of screenshots that we did get. So we'll start off with this one from Bravin. So shout out to you. This is on silver. So I can see that you got a very good selling opportunity high up within that region there. Stop loss already beneath your point of entry, which is very good. Don't know where you're targeting, but at least this is a risk-free trade. And I'm very sure that you're watching out for problem areas where you could run into some headwinds with the opposite party. But this is some very, very good trading. Of course, in terms of entry, very well done. No, we did discuss as you're taking that trade yesterday. So good to see that you made it out alive and well on that particular trade. So shout out to you for that, Bravin, and keep up the good work. So we also did get a couple of screenshots from Caroline Kisini. So this is on the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So this one is a selling opportunity that you got at the extreme top, which is very good. So of course, that entry right there is quite hard for very many people to get, but you did get it right there. And of course, when the market started to move in your favor, I can see that your stop loss already way below your point of entry. So you have secured a lot of profits on that particular trade. So shout out to you for that. And also on the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen, very, very good entry right at the top right there. Stop loss already way below your point of entry, which is very good. And I can see that as the market was moving down, definitely enjoying more and more pips and profits. So shout out to you for that, Caroline Kisini, and of course, do keep up the good work. So we also did get a couple of screenshots from Dan Bickett. Seems like you're also killing it on the charts yesterday. So this one is on the euro against the Great British Pound, more or less almost a similar trade to what I got, which we will be looking at in a bit. But very good to see that you got the trade somewhere within that region, stop loss within that area right there. But I'm sure maybe on entry maybe could have been higher, but once the market started to move down in your favor, possibly did end up bringing it down. But I know that the market did fool around quite a bit within this region before it did end up starting to calm down. I mean, if you did survive this one and you're hanging on to it, then shout out to you. Personally, I'm still hanging on to it, though it's a very, very slow trade. But like I pointed out, we will be looking at that in a bit to see what the situation could be looking like today. So shout out to you for that, Dan Bickett, and of course, keep up the good work. So you also did get the euro against the Japanese yen. So I can see that you got a selling opportunity somewhere within here. And another sell here, the market was coming down, stop losses for your trades. I can see that they're somewhere within this region here, which is okay. Can't see some sort of an SNR that you've set down within this region. So possibly a region where you're watching out in terms of an area where you could manage your trade. I know that of all the euros, this one did perform quite well. So hopefully it did make something good on that one. Although I know it did also give some whipsaws and a deep pullback before the market started to move, but I hope you did survive that. And of course, if you did make it out alive, then that was a really good trade. So shout out to you for that, Dan Bickett. So last but not least, also from Dan Bickett, this is the euro against the US dollar. Can see that you got a very good sell somewhere within that area there. Stop loss already below your point of entry once the market started to move. Very, very good entry. Of course, high up within that region there, and I can see that you're targeting just within this area right here. So hopefully you did also make it all the way to your take profit on that particular trade, but that was a very good trade as well. So shout out to you for that. Dan Bickett, Caroline Kisini, and also Bravin for your screenshots. We're really happy to see you guys killing it on the charts. So keep up the good work. Remember, guys, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. You can feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp. Our contact details are right there in the video description of this particular video. And of course, we will be happy to see what you're up to and give you the much needed shout out that you need. And of course, like I pointed out a couple of times this week, Friday is when we're going to be crowning things. So I mean, if you haven't sent in a screenshot this year, then just make sure that at least you do send in one before we're out of your way. So at least we do have tomorrow and also Friday. So feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp, and also feel free to contact us in case you're encountering any issues on the charts, and we'll see how best we can end up helping you. So shifting gears into matters today. So you can see the watch list right there. So we will be trying to see whether we can mix and match up the euro, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar against everything else on the buy side. So we'll start off with the euro pairs. On the fundamental front, and let me point this out before I forget, there's already been a couple of news events that have already come out. So we have already factored everything above this level right here, or this thick line right here. Everything to the upside, we've already factored that into our analysis. But you can see that beneath, there are quite a number of news events that are going to be coming out. So I guess during the US session, it's going to be pretty lit, especially considering the fact that the USD or the US news events for the next 2 days have all been put together into one day, because Thursday and Friday is going to be a holiday in the US. So it's going to be Thanksgiving tomorrow. And you also can see that on Friday, the markets are going to be closing early because of Thanksgiving. So all the news events for the next 2 days have been piled up and been put together into today. So you can see that there's going to be a lot of news events for the US. So I guess we should possibly end up expecting a lot of moves on the USDs. So just make sure that you watch out for that. And of course, like I pointed out, I mean, if there's a lot of news events, that means that we should be expecting the charts to really move. So it could be some, good opportunities you could get there, but also make sure that you also do watch out for your risk. So we can get started with the euro pairs. So we'll start off with the euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three regions right here that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was just coming back in within this region. And it did seem like the buyers had gone up, sellers had come down. it did seem like the buyers were struggling. So we're expecting maybe to get a turnaround within this region and time a sell. But I was also thinking that maybe since the market broke and came within this region, maybe the sellers would have just showed up, maybe somewhere within this area right here, maybe for some sort of an extremely aggressive entry. I know that when the market breaks above the red SNR and holds to the upside, it's never really a good time for you to look for yourselves. But if you're a real sniper and a real cowboy in the charts, you can't possibly end up attempting such type of trades. But I was thinking maybe these sellers would have pushed the market down. But I was really keen to see whether the market was also going to come back in, at least within this region. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And you can see that the market went up a bit higher, then started to hold within here, but maybe the sellers could be somewhere within this region here. So for this one, for today, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some proper sells coming in. So these are the 3 areas we will be watching out for today. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those 3 areas right there. Let's see if we can either get the market getting a push to the upside, and if we get some sort of a pullback back within this region here, maybe we could try and see whether we could attempt some sells. I mean, you could target all the way down here, but of course, you will need to do some money management, within this area here. Alternatively, in case the market breaks beneath this region to the downside, at least if we get the market coming back in within this region, then also we can try to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So just watch out for that. Also remember the red SNR at the top. I mean, if the market breaks above that region to the upside, then unfortunately, there will be no trade for us unless, like I pointed out, you're an extreme cowboy and you're looking for those extreme entries high up within there, but also be well aware of the risks, that are involved with such kind of trades. So the next one, this is the euro against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, I think this one is the one that was the real winner in terms of the euros. For this one, I think moved the most. So you can see that these are the 3 areas that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was here. So I was expecting price to come back in at least within this region here, maybe get some sort of a turnaround, hold to the downside, and the market come to the downside. To some extent, it did end up doing that, because you can see that this move going up definitely incited a lot of buyers to definitely come in, but they only came head on with these sellers who are sitting within here. And you can see that those sellers are the ones who actually ended up unleashing hell on the buyers, and you can see that the market really came to the downside. Also during the Asian session, the market is still coming to the downside. So for this one, at least good to see Dan Bickett did get a very good sell, somewhere within this region here on this one. But in terms of the pullbacks, unfortunately, they were not coming in that deep, because you can see that within this region just came shy of that area. And of course, when the market came, held within here, broke to the downside, also didn't come back in within here. So I guess this one, the pullbacks possibly needed to be read on a smaller time frame. But nonetheless, you can see that the market has come down quite well, but also something to do with the yen pairs as well. So, I mean, when we look at the rest of the yens, you'll also see something quite similar. So for this one, we will also be trying to see whether we can get sells. So these are the 3 areas we will be watching out for. Let's see if we can get the market giving us a pullback, and a proper pullback we can read. Maybe price might come in here. Even if it does come in within this SNR right here, I mean, if we do get the slowdown of the buyers and we do get the sellers showing up, then we can still look for the sells, somewhere within this region here. But we're really hoping that we get the market coming back in within this region here. And of course, if the sellers are not interested, then remember that this is going to be the last area. But anywhere in between, you still could get the sellers showing up, because there are also quite a number of areas where, maybe the sellers might be interested in. So just make sure that you also do watch out for that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the euro against the Japanese yen. So you can move on to the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells as well. So the market had come down, come back in within this region here, and we wanted to see if we could have gotten a sign of the big boys at around 11, which is the London market open. But unfortunately, you can't see that the sellers were not quite interested then, and the market broke to the upside and actually held to the upside of this region. And you can't see that during the US session, the market actually pushed itself off this region right here to the upside. So of course, once the market broke this area, unfortunately, at that point in time, there was no trade for us. So for this one, for today, let's see if we can get some selling opportunities and proper selling opportunities, although you can see that the market did really end up coming down quite aggressively. This is due to some NZD interest rate news events that did end up coming out earlier today. So I guess that is the effect. And you can see that the markets came down and of course still holding within these regions right here. So this is some sort of an outlier. That's the way we're looking at it, possibly on a bigger time frame, maybe it's just a probe or something of the sort. So generally the levels are the same and you can see that they're still being respected, considering the fact that the market bounced off here, came back in within this region here, which is, I mean, the mid area that we did have yesterday, it's come down. But there's also this area here where we're thinking maybe, especially based on how the market came down, if it doesn't break this region to the downside, you could find the pullback coming back in within this region here. So this is also an area of interest, especially when you look at it on the bigger time frame. So we're thinking maybe it just might get the market just pulling back in within this region here, maybe to give us another sell attempt in case the market does end up pulling back. But of course, remember, also could get the market breaking this region to the downside. If it does, just make sure that you do wait for that pullback before you look for any selling opportunities. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So the next one, this is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten sells. You can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out, which are more or less the same areas today. So the market was here. We're expecting price to come back in within this region, possibly give us some good selling opportunity. So the big sellers showed up, decided to move down. The market pulled back in within this region right here. And you can see that within this area, that's where I did end up taking this trade right here, stop loss somewhere within that region. The market came down aggressively. I actually thought it was going to tap within here. Then all of a sudden, the market just came back up. I was lucky to actually end up surviving that spike when the market did end up coming up quite aggressively. I guess sometimes not being in front of your charts is actually a good thing. It can actually end up saving you from, when you panic and you end up doing all sorts of things. So I did end up surviving at least that spike going up. But after that, the sellers really slowed down. And this trade has really taken so long, even just getting till the next problem area, which is somewhere within here. You can see that the market is just hovering within this region right here, but the sellers have really been coming down very, very slow. So we don't know if the big boys are going to be showing up today, but at least definitely money management has already been done, which is okay. So it's just a matter of really waiting to see what does end up happening. Either the market could bounce off here, because you can see that the buyers have reacted off this region before. So either we could get the market giving us a pullback. And I mean, if the market comes back in within this region, then it's okay, because at that point in time, you can't even see that the market would have already been in some sort of a range. So that being the case, the best area to look for the selling opportunities is definitely at the top of the range. So let's see if we can either get that happening, maybe give us another entry there. But in case that doesn't happen, and let's say the sellers actually end up breaking through this region to the downside and we get the hold within this area, then maybe could possibly end up trying to see whether we could possibly end up getting another sell within there, possibly come down, maybe challenge this bar down within this region right here. But right now, let's just give this bar the benefit of doubt. The market is sitting within a region of support. And you can see that we're approaching the Frankfurt Open and also the London Open. So you never really know whether the London big boys are possibly going to be pushing the market to the upside. Then maybe after that, when the market is high up there, the US big boys possibly show up much later on. So we'll just have to wait and see. So the next one, this is the euro against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. So you can see the three regions and also an illustration of what to expect. So the market did come back in within this region. And you can see that there was some sort of a turnaround and a slowdown. The buyers attempted to push up. Maybe that last push going up could have been a good attempt to take the sell. But you can see that when the market broke this region to the downside, we couldn't get the market coming back in within here. But it did just come back in within this region, just tapped there. And after that, you can see that the market started to calm down. But also this one was quite slow in terms of how the sellers were coming down. Something similar to the euro against the Great British Pound. So it's like the big boys showed up, then they disappeared. Exactly what they did even on the other one. Because you can see that with this push coming down, then after that, the market slowed down. And you can see that the market has just been moving very, very slow. You coming down within this region. So for this one, I mean, unless you got the sales higher up, don't really look for the sales now, because we're just coming in within a region where we do have buyers. You never really know what type of reaction you could get off this region here. So either the market will possibly pull back, and I do hope it does. If it does pull back in, it could possibly even come back in all the way to within this region here, maybe incite more buyers to come in before the sellers do actually end up pushing the market to the downside. So let's see if we get something like that. But if not, we'll have to wait and see if we can't get the market breaching this region to the downside, because any sells within this area right here, you're not within a very good region. You could easily end up going head on with these buyers who are sitting here. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. Also watch out for the red scenario at the top. It's a bit of a long shot, but you can also easily find the market coming back there. Anything is possible. If that happens, just make sure that you're also ready for that. So that's pretty much it in terms of the euros. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs, and we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was somewhere within here. I pointed out this wasn't a very good area to look for the buys, especially when the price was hovering beneath this region to the downside. We did need to see a proper breach to the upside and a hold before we look for the buys. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. You can see the number of probes that happened within this region, especially to the upside, the number of probes to the upside. That tells us that there were definitely sellers who are sitting within there. And you can't see that during the US session, the sellers really pushed the market to the downside. Fortunately, we couldn't get anything within this region right here. And of course, the market came down, and you can't see that it broke this region to the downside, held for a bit to the downside, but came back to the upside of this region. So this one, there was nothing clear yesterday in terms of buying opportunities, but you can see that during the Asian session, the market seems to have done some sort of a turnaround. So we'll be waiting to see what happens within these three areas right here. So the buyers have gone up. Maybe, I don't know if the market could come back here, but considering the fact that we're within a seller's region, you never know how far they could push the market down. Maybe it could come back in within this region, maybe within this region. Of course, this is the more or less the ultimate area, because that marks the end of us looking for buying opportunities if the market breaks to the downside. But let's see what type of pullback we could get. So if the market comes back in within there, definitely you could look for buys there, somewhere within here. But definitely right now, based on where the price is, might not really be the best of ideas, because you're not too sure what this region and these sellers might do. But at least if they do break to the upside, at least if we get a nice pullback coming in within here, then you could possibly try to see whether you could get some buying opportunities within this area. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. And of course, remember to watch out for the times, like we keep on pointing out, like a broken record. So we do have 11, 4, and 5:30, and of course also 10 during the Frankfurt session open. You can also end up watching out for that. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday we were watching out for sells. These are the three areas we had. In the morning, price was somewhere within here, pulling around here. So we did want to see the market break and hold to the downside of this region. You can see that there was a bit of push and pull within this region between the buyers and the sellers. So price couldn't come back all the way to within here. But we can see that the buyers showed up quite aggressive. And after that, the market just pulled around within here before the market, the big boys in Asia, actually continued pushing the market to the downside. So for this one, we'll also be waiting for the pullback. Right now, in terms of chasing the sells, might not really be the best of ideas. So you're not quite sure whether the market has broken this region. It could easily end up probing. And if it does that, especially if it does come back into the upside and hold, then there's there's possibly a possibility that the market could actually end up coming back in, either within this area here, or maybe somewhere within this region here, because you can see that there's also a push of the sellers there. But generally, if the market comes back somewhere as close as possible within here, I think you could possibly end up getting some very good selling opportunities within that region there. And of course, possibly trying to see whether you could get the market coming down to within this region. But here, unless the market breaks and comes back in and holds beneath here for the sell, I think you're better off just waiting. Right now, the market is just breaking to the downside, but there's no confirmation just yet that the market is actually holding beneath this region to the downside. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. Although I don't know if price will come back in there, but just be ready for that. Although the yens are also showing a lot of strength. I mean, even when we looked at the euro against the Japanese yen, you could see something similar with that as well. So looking at the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten buys. Can't see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was here. We did want to see a nice break to the upside and a push to the upside. Market come back in within here before attempting buys. And you can see that the market only came higher up to within this area. And even if you did attempt buys within this region, definitely needed to watch out for this area. You can see that the market came in here, just tapped that region. The market came down quite aggressively, bounced off this region. And you can see that today during the Asian session, of course, due to those NZD interest rate decisions that came out, you can see that the market has gone up. So for this one, there wasn't anything clear yesterday in terms of the buys. Let's see if today we'll get something a bit more clearer. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So aggressive conservative, semi-aggressive conservative. The market has already bounced off this region. Let's see if we can break this region to the upside. Don't look for buying opportunities just yet. You can see that the market has turned off this area a number of times. The first time here, the second time quite aggressive. The third time, the market came down. This time around, you're not quite sure what the sellers might do. So you're better off waiting for price to possibly go up. If it does end up going up, then maybe on the pullback, we could try and see whether we could get some proper buying opportunities coming in. So don't feel some type of way or some FOMO when the market is going up. Let it go up. Remember, you can always get the pullback. You could even find that maybe the sellers within this region might even end up reacting, and you could actually end up getting the market back within this region here. You could get a very good buying opportunity here. So you just need to be patient. But for that one, looking for the buys higher up there might be a bit risky. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we were watching out for buys. Can't see the three areas right there that I had pointed out. In the morning, price was here. It was either price to break and hold above here, push to the upside. You can see there was an attempt during the London session before the sellers did come in and the big boys did come in during the US session quite aggressively. Price came back in within this region and bounced off this area. You can see that the market is attempting to move to the upside. So even for this one, it wasn't the clearest of opportunities and didn't really give some very, very good opportunities, because I mean, even if you got the buys within here, you'd have expected the market to make higher highs and higher lows. You know, as a buyer, that's definitely what you want. But you can see the struggle within here before the buyers actually shut down the sellers shut down the buyers rather. And you can see that within this area, the market has bounced, but it's coming up. So let's wait and see what happens within here. It's either the market breaks to the upside, comes back in within here, and we get a proper buy, or maybe the market just comes back in. Maybe this might be some sort of a retest. I mean, we can't tell. Market could just bounce off there, come back in. Maybe these sellers who push the market down might attempt to break their previous record. If they are unable, then I think possibly we could get a very good buy down within this region right here. So you just need to be patient, wait and see what happens. And also remember the red SNR at the bottom. That's definitely going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get some aggressive buying opportunities. So last but not least, on the Canadian dollar pairs, this is the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we were watching out for sells. You can't see the three areas right there. So in the morning, price was here. We were expecting maybe price to break to the downside. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market bounced off here, came up. Can't see that the market and the buyers came in aggressive within there, but there's no sign of the big sellers, even if the market is moving down. So maybe you could find the price bouncing off this area right here. If it does, then at least maybe we could get the market coming back in here before the sellers do actually end up regrouping, possibly push the market to the downside. Because if you look at how the sellers are coming down here, these are definitely not these sellers. So there's a possibility, maybe if price does come back in within this region, then maybe we could get some good selling opportunities. Also remember, price can also come back in all the way through within here. I mean, if these buyers decide to push the market, these buyers who pushed the market to the upside yesterday during the US session, they decide to come back in, you could easily find the market maybe even coming higher up to within here. Maybe the market could give a proper sell like it did on Monday morning. So just make sure that you watch out for that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the Canadian dollar pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the next set of currency pairs, which are the USD pairs. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, this one is actually a new entrant on our watch list. So for this one, we are going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So just make sure that you do actually end up taking note of them. So you can see yesterday the sellers were actually coming down and pushing down quite aggressively off this region here during the Asian session and also during the US session. Price came down. Right now, the market is attempting to come up, but don't really end up chasing the buys right now. Just wait and see if you could actually get the market breaking above here, get some confirmation that price is actually holding above there. But you will need to watch out for this region here. And as much as you could target high up there, considering the fact that sellers have come in from here before twice, you can't ignore that particular region. So just make sure that you watch out for that. And of course, in case the sellers do decide to react off this area, then the best area to look for the buy still remains down within this region right here. And in any case, I do hope it does come in there. I think being an aggressive trader, I always like getting the aggressive entries. Of course, they end up giving way more risk to reward. So hopefully we will end up getting that pullback coming in before we actually get the market moving to the upside. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, this is also a new entrant on our watch list, and we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've marked out. So like the rest of the yens, you can't see the strength coming in. Even if this one wasn't on our watch list yesterday, but during the Asian session, you can't see that the sellers are still pushing the market to the downside. So let's wait and see what happens on this one. These are the three areas we have. Right now, we're still more or less within this region here. So we've not yet fully cleared that area. And if we go up a higher time frame, you will see that on the 1 hour time frame, this region is generally an area where we do have buyers. So I think we do need to see the market maybe push down a bit lower, come back in, give us some proper pullback. Then after that, maybe we could try see whether we could attempt some sells. Because right now, even if you do end up attempting a sell, let's say the market pulls back in within here, you'll just have to manage your trade within here, which doesn't really make much sense. And you might not really end up making much in terms of risk to reward. So just wait and see, because there's also a possibility the buyers could actually come back in. And if we hopefully do get the market coming back in within this region here, I think this might be a very good area to look for the sales if we do actually end up getting that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But right now, I think considering the fact that this is a buyer's area, we need to see more of the seller come down. Then, of course, if we do get the pullback coming in, maybe back within here, back within this region here, then maybe we could try to see whether we could get sales. But right now, it's a bit risky. It's not yet fully confirmed. And as much as the buyers have attempted to go up, sellers have showed up within this region. And if you get the trade here, you might need to just manage your trade within here. But at least if the market comes down and you get a proper pullback, you can actually end up targeting at least down much more lower, which will definitely end up making way more sense. So just watch out for that. Also watch out for the times, like we keep on pointing out, and no matter what you do, make sure that you do trade with a stop loss and stick within your risk parameters at all times. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list. We'll be watching out to see whether we can get buys. These are the three areas we've mapped out. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get maybe the market pushing down off this region here. Maybe we could get some proper buys within this region here, or maybe somewhere within here. But we'll generally have to wait and see if we can also get the market breaking above here. Looking for buys now might not be so good, because you never really know what these sellers within this region might end up doing. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Also remember, the red SNR is going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive buying opportunities. So the next one is the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So for this one, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some buys. So these are the three areas we've mapped out. The market also seems to be in some sort of a range, which tells us that the best buying opportunities are definitely down within this region here. You can get the market just pushing down somewhere as close as possible within this area here. I think maybe we could get some proper buys, could easily end up targeting the top of the range to get something like that. But also, of course, in case the market breaks above here and holds, then I guess we'll have no choice but to actually look for the buying opportunities within this region. But you'll have to watch out for the top of the range there. If we break above that, then at least, once you get a breach of structure, you could actually end up looking for more conservative buying opportunities on this one. So let's see what happens on this one. Of course, if the structure breaches to the downside of the range, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us until or unless the market goes above that region. So the next one and the last currency pair, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So this one, also a new entrant on our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. So these are the three areas we've mapped out. This one is also in some sort of a range. So right now we're just at the bottom of the range. Not really a good time to look for the selling opportunities. So the best area is definitely within this region. If you can get the market coming back in, and I really hope that the London big boys push the market up, then maybe at around 4-5 we do find the market high up within this region, then at least we could get some very good selling opportunities from here coming down. Of course, also watch out for the region at the top. We do have an outlier all the way high up within there, but you'll also have to watch out for this region right here when the market is coming down. But hopefully we do breach that area and the market comes and holds within this region on your way down, then I guess we should possibly be coming down all the way to within this region here. So watch out for that. Also remember the market can also break to the downside. I mean, if you get a breach of structure to the downside, then just wait and see what happens. Don't be a breakout trader, waiting to see the first candle that breaks out. If you do that, you could easily end up getting caught up in such kind of a scenario. Because even within this area, there are definitely some guys who thought that the market had broken this scenario. But lo and behold, you can see that the market actually did end up coming back into the upside. So you will need to see that confirmation. So make sure that you're also a bit patient on that one. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of all the currency pairs. So we have mixed and matched them up, the buys versus the sells. So we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. So you can see on that front, there is a match in terms of a change. So we'll start with the NAS 100. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out, more or less the same areas as today. So for as long as we're holding above here, the bias is to look for buys. The market came up, held within this region, and you can see that during the London session, the market started going up. During the US session, the market had already tapped within this region right here. And you can see that some sort of a fight has ensued, within this area right here. So for this one, for today, the levels are the same. The story is the same. We just need to be patient. Either the market could give us a pullback coming back in within this region here. If it does, definitely we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities there, and also even down within this region here. I mean, if the buyers do definitely need a much better price, we can't find the market coming back down to within here. So watch out for that. But also remember, for here, we definitely need to see the market break above this region to the upside, or the pullback. We'll be keen to see what happens, because you could find the market break to the upside, but if it doesn't hold on the pullback like it did within, like for example, within this region here, then definitely there is no trade for us. And that's the reason why it's always very important to actually always wait to see what happens after the breach. Otherwise, you'll get caught up rather in some breakout trades, which most of the time actually end up being losses. Because you can imagine, like even for this NAS 100, there are definitely some ninjas who are hitting buys within here, thinking that that's the trade that is going to put them on the Forbes list. Unfortunately, that trade did not work out. So you always need to be patient. After a breach, always make sure that you actually do wait to see the confirmation of the hold. So the next one, this is the US 30. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities as well. So you can see the three areas right here that I had pointed out. And for as long as we're holding above here, the bias was to try to see whether we could get buys. In the morning price was here. I did point out that don't look for buys unless we get a breach and a hold. You can see that the sellers within here pushed the market to the downside. And you can see that the market actually came back down all the way to within this region, almost within the New York Stock Exchange open. And from within this area, the market actually took off to the upside without giving much of a pullback. So for this one for today, these are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So we have adjusted them accordingly. So right now we will be waiting to see whether we can get a breach of that region at the top to the upside, wait for the pullback. If not, give the sellers the benefit of doubt, could find the market coming back in within there, or maybe somewhere within this region right here. But even if it pulls back down to within here, we're still going to be trying to see whether we can't get buying opportunities. It's only when the market breaks beneath that red SNR to the downside and actually holds beneath it that we will start to try see whether we can get some selling opportunities confidently, which means that if you're looking for buys or sells rather on the US 30 and the NAS 100, just be well aware that those are counters and have that at the back of your mind. So the next one, this is silver. So for silver, yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten sales. Same story today. There isn't much that has changed. So the levels also remain the same. Price was somewhere here in the morning. Price came down, came back in within this region, possibly tapped back within this area right here, some sort of a reaction, but you can't see that there's some crazy fight that was going on within this region. And it seems that the buyers are pushing the market up higher. So I guess price is possibly looking for a much better price than this. So we could possibly find the market coming back in within here. Maybe these sellers high up there actually needed to get the job done. So if we do get the market coming back in within this area, I think we could possibly try to see whether we could possibly get some good selling opportunities coming in. But also remember, in case the sellers and the big sellers do actually end up showing up within this area here, and we can possibly get the market coming back in here and struggling, then I guess we could try and see whether we could get this sell of the second leg. So watch out for that. And of course, remember the red SNR at the top. For as long as we're holding beneath that, the bias is to try to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold, this one is also the same. The story is the same. You can see the mediocrity that was going on yesterday within this region right here. It was almost expected, especially if you consider how the market had really come down on Monday, because you can't see that from within here coming down to within here. I think it was like 1,000 plus pips coming down. So definitely all the guys who are hitting sales yesterday, you can see the sort of confusion that those guys were thrown into. And I'm sure very many are wondering what the hell is going on with this thing. And right now, their sales are not working and the market is actually pulling back to the upside. So I can imagine the number of stop losses that are actually being hit, as the market is actually moving to the upside. So for this one, yesterday there wasn't anything clear, but today at least we have some sort of a pullback coming in. Let's see if we'll get the market slowing down within here. Might need to just tap in within these regions here, maybe to activate these sellers to possibly come back in the game. If that does end up happening and the market comes back to the downside and holds within here, and also watching out for the times, maybe we could possibly end up getting a very good selling opportunity within this area right here. So watch out for that, but also watch out for the region at the top. I mean, if the market needs that area, then also be ready for that. Also considering the fact that, like I pointed out, there are very many US news events today. So nearly like 20 news events. So we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Also make sure that you definitely also watch out for your risk as well. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So hope everything has been clear. In case it hasn't, also feel free to watch this broadcast on YouTube. So let's see what guys are saying on the chat box. So I see Ivy Wanyama there. Good to see you saying good morning, John. I'm happy to be here. Karibu sana. I see Daniel Simiyu. You're also saying you're glad to be here. Karibu sana. And also shout out to you, Dan Bicket on your trades. And also Lucy, you're saying good morning. Good morning to you as well. Karibu sana. Also good to see you here. So I guess that's pretty much it from me. Not really seeing much queries or questions or requests on the chat box, which is okay. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. So remember, if you do get any trades, feel free to also send them in to us. Also remember to give us a like and a subscribe. That also does end up helping out our channel. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow. So as always, may the peeps be with you. God bless and bye for now.